Hey there guys, this is Weeping Knight. Apparently, the infamous blue screen of death attacked me, and that happens I guess on consoles too now. It was an error code that you always seem to get only with Skyrim. I really haven't gotten that error with any other game that I can recollect. But like, Skyrim is one of the most amazing RPGs there are. Morrowind was really amazing, and if they can create the next Skyrim to be, or whatever's gonna be after this, like the offline game, to be like Skyrim slash Morrowind, that would be pretty awesome. So I hope this doesn't crash, because I'll have to restart the whole episode again. Be really upset. I think that bandit might be glitched. He's not fighting or anything, he's just sitting there. I'm gonna kind of stay out of this and watch. See what kind of magic I have. Flames, healing, and night eye, huh? There's one tall orc. Hey, welcome back. Oh, I'm not doing anything. My life's actually pretty ordinary. I just sit around and I don't really do much of anything. I think a lot. That's mainly what I do. I think a lot about things like time, space, dimensions, creation. The universe, the multiverse, all that great stuff. Dang, that chick is lit up. Sorry, chick. Sorry about that. Dude, the graphics on this are amazing. So what are you gonna be doing? Well, the creation kit that they came out for, once you create the mods, you can upload it to Bathsheba, or whatever however you say their name. Oh, that's good. I have a church that I help out and stuff, but I don't actually, like, I do all kinds of things for them and stuff because I care about them, but I don't really go because I'm kind of a socially awkward person. I might not sound like it when I'm just playing the game, but in real life, like when you meet me, I'm a really shy person, and I have a lot of anxiety issues with people. So I try to stay away from people for the most part. I don't really go do much. I'd like pick up the trash at the churches, or at the church I'm at, and I mow the yard and stuff like once a week for them and stuff, you know, just help them out. There are a lot of elderly people there, and there's only like 4 young people. There's like a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, oh yeah, and then like a 5-year-old, and then there's like 2 16-year-olds, and that's it. Everybody else is like 60 and up. It's a nice church though. I like it. You know, I tried to talk to them about things I've seen and stuff about heaven and hell, but They really aren't accepting toward that, you know. They have their own beliefs and ideals. I really don't fit in anywhere with anybody, but it's okay. I don't mind. But my church mods should be available for any console that can download the mods from that from the Shada, or however you say it. The people that made this game and they made Fallout and all that, once you upload it, it should be console wide. I could be incorrect on that. But I do need to acquire a PC that plays Skyrim, and I do need to acquire the legitimate version, because if I don't have the legitimate version of Skyrim, then I won't be able to upload. Hold up, I didn't piss you guys off. Oh, come on, that's some bull. Ah! Roger that. Yeah, instead of Talos being in the game, I was thinking about remodding everything about Talos and actually making it different, like all the dialogue and stuff. Same voices, same places, same temples, and then even creating a few temples of my own. And then making it into the story about God, like the creator of all time and space and existence, and of course, Skyrim. And sending his son down to come down into a form to help and assist others. Hey bro, can I talk to you? Ow! I guess I can't talk to you. Well, I done pissed everybody off. I gotta get out of here. I was thinking about trying to import new mods to Skyrim, but come to find out, you can only use the vanilla stuff in Skyrim Special Edition. You can't add anything new. You can only use anything that's in the game. So, I don't really know how I'm going to go about doing it, but I want to make one ultimate mod that's like 1 gigabyte altogether, because that's all you can have is a gigabyte within the mods of Special Edition. Is the most you can have in mods altogether, and just make it into one giant thing that redoes the entire layout of Skyrim. But I really don't know what direction I can go with it, since I'm only working with vanilla stuff. There is a lot I can do, but there's also a lot I can't do. Dang bro, really? Get out of here. Stupid Imperial Legion. Like doing these weather effects and stuff, whoever did this did an amazing job. They really did the fog good, they made the god rays look amazing. They changed the colors of the sky, the reflection of the water, all that stuff. And I want to make a quest in here for the Holy Grail. And actually make it a living, like an actual thing in here, and a quest for the Excalibur, and actually have like a King Arthur type of base in here. And the Holy Grail will basically be like, it's basically water or a spring that's been blessed by an angel, and it basically made it to the equivalent of the heavenly springs of Zion, which is like heaven. And so anybody that drinks from the cup and drinks that spring, out of the spring, actually gets eternal life. So in the game, once you drink that, then your character actually could take damage and die, right? But as soon as they die, they instantly would be the equivalence of like a resurrect spell or something. You would come back to life and all your wounds would be healed, and you could keep fighting. And when you had the Excalibur, your health would go down, but it would regenerate like really fast. Once it got all the way down, it would just jump all the way back up. And whenever you, like, let's say you managed to get killed, then well, yeah, you can't get killed with that. It's actually the thing about that one is you can't get killed at all. So every time your health would go all the way down, it would just jump back up all the way. That way you would get damage effects. So when it just be like your health bar never moves, you'd actually take damage. And I want to create a whole entire thing to where you have to go on this like Indiana Jones giant-sized quest for the Holy Grail. And you do actually meet like a really old man that's in like Templar style looking armor, if I can find it in this game. Now that I know I can only use vanilla stuff, it really disappoints me because I had really big dreams for this game. But they did an amazing job on the graphic overhaul. I got enemies all around me. Good God. It looks like I done pissed off the entire continent of Skyrim. Oh man, I gotta get out of here. I do have a mod on right now that allows me to marry anybody in Skyrim, pretty much. And I can divorce anybody in Skyrim. All the merchants have like 10,000 gold instead of just 2,000. Which I get they were trying to put realism to the game to where, you know, mercs are mercs, and they were trying to kind of base it off the economy of how much one piece of gold's worth. In my opinion, I think they should have put copper, gold, and platinum in the game. It'd be more of a D&D type of base, but it makes more sense that they would have more values like that. 100 gold's like a piece of platinum, or maybe 1,000 gold. Good God, even I'm not that big. I mean, I'm pretty big, but the giant's like, what? What? I'll mess you up. What you looking at? He took off running. He's like, nope. Really? The skeletons are like 1,000 times harder now. Why am I still surrounded by 1,000 enemies? When I used to play Minecraft, I actually had churches. Oh, what? What are those? Corrupted shades. Okay. Apparently those are in the game now. Skeletons, corrupted shades. Skyrim done fell into some kind of crazy, insane stuff. You can actually get a corrupted shade as a follower in that bolt I was showing you earlier, that armory. It's funny because she actually sounds like, or the shade looks all scary and stuff, but it sounds like not Ladia, but I think the Dumner. You get the Dumner at the Drunken Horseman, I think. Good God, these guys are tearing me up. I don't really know, to be honest. I'm telling you, it's probably gonna take me about a year, 6 months to a year before I even get the mods done, and I have to get me a compatible PC. All my roommates just left, it's just me and another guy here, so we're praying to God that we make it on rent and stuff, because right now as it stands I'm the only one making money and I don't even make enough for rent. So he's trying to make money and I'm praying that God's gonna bless our lives And, you know, God really has before, so... So it could take... it could take another year or two before my mods are even released. That's how I roll. I'm never the first on things. I'm usually the last to come in. But when I come in, I'm like a wrecking ball. Play that song with Miley Cyrus. Came in like a wrecking ball. Like on PS3, right? Diablo 3. Before ROS came out. Diablo 3, the original Diablo 3, the vanilla. Right? There were all these modders in there, like Tech9, all these people. And they were like the top modders. Well, I go in there, and this is about 2 or 3 years after the game comes out. About 6 months before ROS comes out. And these guys are champions at modding. I get a hold of the modding thing on a computer. I figure out how to do it. By the end of it, I literally was like 4th place in the top modders list on the modding. And my gear and my equipment and my stuff I make could go toe to toe with some of the best modders in the entire game. And I could actually mess them up and do it pretty coolly. Like, they wouldn't admit it, but I dropped them a few times. My mods are pretty amazing. And I say 4th place because I could never figure out the formula to make the sword as powerful as it was. But my gear, good God, I made some great gear. I made it look amazing. I dyed it different colors, put good designs on it, amazing stats on it. Good God, how many rafts are there? I'm done. I don't know why I just ran up there and started murking those rafts, but those rafts are beating me down. I can't see a thing. I need some light in my life. Yeah, actually I made a video dedicated to you, businessman, apologizing. I think it was my video 4. That day I was playing a game, I wasn't really paying attention, and that other guy came in here and he was just acting completely childish and immature. And he kept trying to piss me off on purpose, I think. I don't really know, maybe he wasn't, but whatever he was doing was pissing me off. I was getting a little irritated. I was just trying to control myself, and I did that 99% okay. Maybe a 0.10% on there I probably didn't do too well on. Cool. I like helping others and teaching others, but they gotta be at a certain point. Even in the Bible, when Jesus was discipling, you know, and he was actually going out and helping others, he said, "None come unto me unless the Father has first, you know, brought them." In other words, their hearts had to be seasoned a certain way. They had to be ready for the soil, basically. The soil of their hearts had to be tended to a certain point to be able to plant that seed and let that seed grow. It had to have the right nutrients, it had to have the right sunlight, the right water, the right moisture base. It had to be perfect, kind of, in that sense. And that's exactly what our hearts have to be like for God, you know. They have to be ready. A lot of people are not. And if they are, they're only ready for the first 2 steps. They're not ready for the 10 steps. Or 150 million, it seems. There's so many. But there's people, like, you know, that do believe and they're actually bad people. And then there's people that do believe and they're good people, but there's only so much they can learn and understand and receive for different reasons. What is wrong with her? Oh, there's bandits everywhere. Oh god, let me get out of here. Oh god, Skyrim is in chaos.
I've been looking for you. Got something I'm supposed to deliver.
Okay.
Ah, a letter from Jarl. Moving up in the world, eh? Looks like that's it. Got to go. Someone do something!
Well, that's good. I'm glad that I can help somebody feel good in life. For me, when I talk about Christianity, you have to think about what is Christianity? Where did Christianity come from? How old is Christianity? What is Christianity based off of? And how much knowledge was actually given out and fully understood within Christianity? To me, Christianity is, the word Christian means Christ in. So it's based off of Christ, which I believe in, and it's based off of him being inside of you. In other words, being a part of you, which you can find out more about that in the Bible in John chapter 17, which is a very important biblical statement. And if you really read that with discerning eyes, there's a lot of meat in there for Christians, a lot of understanding. And it's almost like the most important biblical stance in the Bible because of what Jesus prays and what he talks about. Oh, apparently all Khajiits in the game have been revised to be enormous. I would help them, but I'm really scared of hitting the wrong one, making someone angry. I just made those guards angry. What the? I'm just gonna put it on easy for now, so they can go down faster. Whoa, how did I get on legendary? What? No wonder those skeletons were so hard to get. I've been fighting on legendary. Good God, Khajiits are enormous. Ouch. Come over here where you're not around guards. Last thing I need to do is hit a guard. Sorry about that. But in Christianity, a lot of people are lacking knowledge. And you can't tell them any different than what they believe, because people's belief systems are everything in their mental state. Like, 90% of any being ever that I've encountered or seen, when you change one little piece of their belief system and prove to them, like really prove or even convince, whichever, that something is different than what they thought or believed, their whole entire world falls apart. Like their mentality, the way they see things, everything. They can't just change that one little detail and optimize it. They have to, like, they just go crazy.
You handle yourself well. You could make for a decent shield, brother.
Thank you.
An outsider, eh? Never heard of the Companions? An order of warriors. We are brothers and sisters in honor. And we show up to solve problems if the coin is good enough. Not for me to say. You'll have to talk to Kodlak Whitemane.
The Bible's amazing. It's just how you interpret the Bible. People can read a verse in the Bible and say, well, this is what God means. God wants me to go out and kill and murder everybody and destroy all the sinners and kill them all and blow stuff up. And then someone else can read the Bible and they could be like, well, this means that, you know, that you're going to hell if you do anything wrong and you're condemned for all eternity to hell. So any type of sinner, if you're a sinner, you're going to hell. And like, and there's other people that read it and they're like, well, this means that, you know, if you mess up, you know, you try to repent, you try to do things in the daily existence of repentance and trying to love and be compassionate and stuff, and, you know, God understands you try and he forgives you, and there is a place like hell, but he isn't just gonna throw you in there for no reason, you know, like. And then there's me, which I'm completely a little different than all of that. And when I read the Bible, the way I've interpreted it is, yeah, I can't say that word, anyway, is that, basically, you know, Christians have a lot of things right about the Bible, like the mainstream Christians, like that's really commonly believed about kindness and compassion and forgiveness and helping one another and trying to daily repent and trying to, you know, convert others by telling them about the word and stuff. Because I believe that God wants his name out there. I believe that Jesus and God, you know, Jesus' name should be glorified for what he did. But I believe that the Bible is a mere glimpse of what we call Christianity, a mere glimpse of God, a mere glimpse of, I'm talking about a tiny glimpse of just the most simplest and basic things that God wants us to do to try to become better people, a better species, a better, you know, individual beings. And it's so simple because we are so complex in our opinions and flexibilities and free will and understandings and perceptions. So he had to keep it very simple because of that reason, because the more complex it gets, the more people's interpretations get twisted around, and the more people's understandings and stuff, like they just try to take things way out of proportion. I mean, can you imagine if he, like, really the whole Bible just sums up of, you know, what happens when you serve God, what happens when you don't serve God, what a person that doesn't believe in God is like, that's basically bad in nature, what a person that's kind of neutral people, you know, they're kind of lost or whatever, what they're kind of like, and then what a person actually serves God and that's on the right path and isn't corrupt or anything is like. So it kind of gives a three-sided tell here, you know, which I call the bad, the gray, and the white. The white, the gray, and the black. There we go. The good, the neutral, and the bad. Now, neutral people, they're just people that don't really know much about much. You know, they just live their lives, whatever, they're kind of lost, things like that. And they can go toward this side, which is good, or they could go toward this side, which is bad. Now, don't get me wrong, there's good people that can become bad. And there's bad people that can become good. I mean, it's almost a vicious cycle. But it depends, like every individual that turns bad, there's usually a reason behind it. Some type of psychology, some type of happening, some type of situational, circumstantial types of things that happen. They're not just naturally malicious, evil, corrupted beings. But there are beings that are like that, don't get me wrong. But the bad ones like that, you know, they don't want to change ever, no matter what. But there are ones that are bad that can change. You know, they can actually turn good. And there's good ones that actually turn bad, but that's because of things that have happened to them. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff behind it. There's a lot of reasons. People don't see that. They're so ready to throw a stone. They're like, this person's bad, kill him! Ah! No chance of repentance or anything. That's just how everybody is. But the Bible talks about repentance for a reason, because God understands, you know, we're all as individual beings capable of doing good or bad with free will and knowledge. See, free will is this thing that every being possesses to do what we want when we want. Otherwise, we'd just be robots, and you give us a command, and it would just be like, it would be like this character right here. As I'm pushing this character to go places, this character does it. This character doesn't ever do anything that it wants to. This character is completely void of free will. This character's free will is actually my free will. So anywhere I want this character to go, it would go. So if I wanted this cup to be thrown, boom, there you go, threw a cup. Character didn't have no say there. But in actuality, with us as individuals, we have free will. A lot of people argue about that, say we don't, blah blah blah. It's completely untrue. Every being in existence has free will. Now with this free will comes knowledge. Knowledge is everything you've seen, heard, smelled, touched, and learned. That's what knowledge is. And there's different bases of it. There's the most simplest form of knowledge, which is almost like what's subconsciously encoded in us, like how to breathe. Your body just constantly knows how to breathe because it's just the simplest form of knowledge, right? Like it couldn't live without that. And then there's a first step of knowledge, second step of knowledge, third step of knowledge, fourth, fifth, sixth, all the way up to levels that you just could not believe. We're talking about top tier, about creation and genetics and how to create and how to, like, but not just that, but like on a grand, enormous, multiversal scale with all kinds of in-between things, technologies, everything. Mankind right now thinks that they're so amazing, but really we've only reached this platform right here, this one. Just such a small little step, but we think we're so far along, and we got so much more to go. Like, I really mean it, so much more. But anyway, so with this path of knowledge, okay, you have free will on this side, do what you want when you want, and you have knowledge on this side. Now in the middle is who you are, okay? And this middle step here, you can take this, all this together, what you have, and you can say, well, I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to slaughter this innocent guard for no reason. Or I'm going to go over here and I'm going to help save this entire kingdom. Or help out an individual, pick up trash, anything. You know. Just whatever you want to do with your free will and knowledge. And all the way from the simplest beings down here on the first step of knowledge all the way up here to the most enlightened and highly intellectual and intelligent and just all-knowing beings that have lived for eons and eons and eons and eons and eons and eons, there is still the scale that I showed you. The good, the bad, and the neutral. Now neutral beings are kind of different than gray beings, but it's still like the gray area. They kind of just do good and bad, but in a sense of their own gain, which is kind of most everybody, but they do it more and particularly with tons and tons and tons and tons of knowledge. Now the simplest beings can do the same thing though, don't get me wrong. But then there's the bad ones, and they've seen so much in all time, space, and existence, and yet they still choose to be malicious and evil and rape and murder and destroy and abduct and torture, and I don't really like those beings. I kind of push those beings away from me. And then there's the good ones, you know, that help do good things. So in a sense, no matter how much you know, whether it's the simplest form, it's the highest form, or in between, anywhere, you know, you always have nature. The bad, the neutral or gray, and then the good. Now gray is lost. Neutral is just your own decisions to do whatever, but you're not really aligned with good or bad. But gray is more like the lost type of people, you know, they're kind of in the middle. They don't really know anything, they're simple-minded, or really complex-minded, but they still don't really side with anything. You know? They're just kind of out for themselves. Sorry about that, guys. I'm getting a little confused here. It's spinning around in circles. What I meant to say was the gray were the lost ones, and it's a fine line. That's what I'm trying to say. The gray were the lost ones, and the ones that are just in the middle, in the neutral, there's a fine line between them because they both kind of do things for themselves, which I guess any type of being would. But the difference is the ones that are neutral, they have more knowledge base than the ones that are gray. The gray are less knowledge based. The neutral, however, they can excel from, you know, any step of knowledge all the way up to the highest tier. Thank you.
So, you were at Helgen. You saw this dragon with your own eyes?
It depends. I think most every being that is born without a certain type of... I know I'm going to say this and it's probably going to make you not believe, but any type of being that is born in creation without any type of other life or before that life of what they're being born into influences, which can happen. Like, you can watch documents of children that remember being in wars, that remember other past lives that they were actually in, and they give you full details of being alive, full details of who they were, full details of what they did, full details of their family members, of their lovers, of their experiences, even how they died. And it's literally a thing that's happening so much now that it proves without a doubt that there is reincarnation. Now, reincarnation in a form of being in animals and stuff, I can't prove that, and I don't know that, but I can prove without a doubt that beings that lived once can actually live again inherently inside of new bodies. So some of them actually keep their memories and some don't. Now, does that mean God doesn't exist? Not at all. A lot of those I've watched actually talk about how they met God and how God actually allowed them to come back onto the planet or into another body and live again. Like, they saw angels, they met God, they conversated with Jesus, and others don't remember any of that about Jesus or God. They just know who they were. So it's a really debatable subject about on the physical thing of you talking about being born. Now we're talking about the being itself, your essence, your life force, your spirit form. That is ultimately what your being is. So if you're a bad being, let's say you're a really malicious, evil being and you're born into a new body, you can certainly still possess all of that stuff, but it doesn't mean you can't change. There is no being in existence that can't change. Even the one we call the devil, or what their exalted name used to be before it was scratched or cast out the book of life and their name was actually taken away, what they called before Lucifer or whatever, the bringer of light, and the being that's now called just like devil or adversary because it means they're nameless. They don't have a name in the book of life. Whatever their name is now isn't counted in heaven, so it doesn't really matter. But no, actually I don't. I just got a lot of revelations and stuff, like things come to me. I can't really explain it. But, you know, me and everybody else on Earth has revelations, and everybody's right and everybody's wrong. So that's where I sit at in this. I'm just like, listen, if you believe me, you do, and if you don't, you don't. There's nothing I can do about it. But, you know, the revelations I have, I think very deeply on, ponder upon, and if you weigh them out and you actually do heavy research on them, they'll actually come out proven. I don't just make up random stuff, and you know, there's some things I can't prove, like aliens and stuff on other planets. Like, I can never prove that. But if you look at things and you understand the mechanics, is what I call it, of all existence, There are planets out there, there are galaxies out there. Every single galaxy that we've seen has planets within it, and our planet itself has life on it. So therefore, every single planet out there might not have life on it, but there are tons in 100 trillion billion planets that we know of, at least. Every single galaxy we've discovered has planets in it. It's a mechanic. Every single galaxy we discovered has been basically structured almost exactly the same. I want to say like copied and pasted almost. A mechanic is something that's universal. It's like a universal mechanic. So like every planet has pretty much moons around it, right? Every planet we see pretty much has moons around it. Has gravitational fields. There's suns, and around suns there's always planets, and around those planets there's always moons, and there's always things like atmospheric things, and there's different gases that are pretty much everywhere in the entire universe you go, you find them. So they're universal mechanics, and if you take that and apply it, well, of course there's life out there. And there's different forms of life. There's smart life, there's not so smart life. You know, it doesn't matter what they actually look like in their physical forms, but every single thing that exists comes from a type of essence. If you believe in spiritual structurement, I believe that the spiritual structurement came before the physical structurement. So everything you see in the physical realm is actually intertwined with the spiritual realm. It's so hard to explain, but it's a really cool event. But anyway, so basically, you know, the Bible is a very simple form of what we're supposed to do. Love one another, forgive one another, treat each other well, treat the earth with love, compassion, respect, you know, try not to rape and murder and destroy. It's a pretty simple thing. And then there's a bunch of testimonies about people. You know, what was this guy like? What was this guy like? What was this person like? What did they do? What did they choose to do? You know, and they're just testimonies of people that are good, people that were bad, people that were lost, people that, you know, changed from being good to bad, and people that changed from being bad to good. It's literally just living examples of life. That's really all it is. Like David and Goliath, David and, you know, Bathsheba, the churches and how the churches acted, and if they served God, when they did serve God. There was all types of different churches that got involved with different things. There was good ones, there was bad ones, there was okay ones. I mean, literally, it's all just, if you look at it as bases, it's all just psychiatry, it's all perception, it's all perspective, it's all understanding, and it's all nature. I mean, if you rip it all apart to its root core, that's what it is. And it all just comes back to bad, neutral or gray, and good. And then the steps of knowledge. And that's pretty much it. And no matter where you are in these steps, it's always the same. Like, do you want to be a good being? Do you want to be a bad being? Do you want to be a neutral or gray being? I mean, can you change from this bad being to being this good being? Can you fall from this good being to becoming a bad being? I mean, it's all susceptible. It's all stuff that can happen. And it's not God that created evil, because the Bible says, or Bible does not say God created evil. It's a mistranslation in Isaiah that says God creates curses and blessings. But in the New King James, it actually repeats and says God creates evil and good. But it's literally a mistranslation, I promise that. God does not create evil. God does no evil. God has his own character. And if you want to know what God's character is like, just read the laws, the 10 Commandments, and the laws that which God brought to us, because that's a reflection of his whole and perfect character. He knows no one can actually fulfill that completely. There's not one. Even Jesus himself said in mistranslation in our Bible, it says, you know, teacher, surely you are good, is what it says in our Bible, but The actual translation, good and perfect, are actually the same in Hebrew. So it actually means like perfect. It's like, teacher, surely you are perfect. You're without sin. We have seen you commit no sin, make no mistakes. You know, do nothing bad ever. And Jesus, he was like, why do you call me perfect? For none but the Father in heaven are perfect. He even put God over himself and said, listen, I'm not perfect. I mean, I might not mess up as much as you guys do because I'm a higher being with more of an ascended nature. And I have a tendency to actually watch my P's and Q's a lot more than y'all do. But I'm not perfect. You know, there's none that are perfect but the Father in heaven. Right? So the Father in heaven, in his nature's so ascended, it's so evolved, so amazing that he is without sin. He is without mistake. And if you want to read in the Bible where it says that, you know, all are found in mistake before God, read Job. The book of Job actually has a translation that says, even, and it says like actually as it is, it says, even the angels in heaven are found in mistake before God. The word mistake can mean sin, which is basically the same thing, or it can mean mistake. What is sin? Sin is basically going against what God is in his perfection, right? In any way, shape or form, it would be considered sin. Disobedience, mistakes, whatever. So even the angels in heaven are found in mistake before God. And it says, how much more would men be who live down here in clay houses? So he was talking about God. He was talking about how perfect God is. And even the angels who serve God in their ascended natures are found in mistake before God. So how much more would us and our natures, which are nowhere near as ascended as the angels, you know, be found in mistake before God? Like, a lot of people, they miss all this. They read the Bible, they hear about Jesus dying on the cross, and then they stop there. So it's like, okay, well, as long as I love Jesus and I try to go to church, or you know, there's a big controversy even about that. Well, just going to church saves me. Well, just praying saves me. Well, you got to do both. You got to go to church and pray. You got to, or you can't like have works without faith, or you can only do works and works save you, or you can only have faith but only faith saves you, or you have to have works and faith. Which is works and faith? Yeah, I know. It's a lot of mainstream things, though. If you understand how human beings work in their nature, they're almost like a single-celled organism when it comes to thinking. Like, if you were to take every ideal thing that's on the planet and put it out there, it would literally be a pie chart. You would have mainstream Christianity, mainstream Catholicism, mainstream Orthodox, and these are just like a teaching that's been taught for generations that has never been altered or changed really at all. And it's just exactly the same. So everybody talks about the exact same things. Everybody, it's because it's what they've been taught. It's what they teach to another generation, and that generation learns it, and then they teach to another generation. So every individual that's been born, they pass that knowledge on to them, which isn't a bad thing that the knowledge hasn't changed. It's just the knowledge has been shortchanged. There's a difference. The knowledge of Jesus and all that Christianity teaches, like 99.9% of it is actually correct. Now, the fact that people are always going around condemning people to hell and stuff, that is incorrect. That's a no-no. But hell is real, and there are punishments within, you know, God and how he chooses to punish others and stuff. And hell is a prison and a place for those, you know, with different levels and stuff that have done different crimes against God and his people, and different things that deserve different punishments. But at the same time, you know, people go around just condemning everybody. If you don't say God bless you when someone sneezes, you go to hell. Like, I mean, it's that ridiculous. Like, people are just highly unintelligent. It's not unintelligent, they're just uneducated. They don't understand. And so even the people that are like the highest pastors that went to school and studied the Bible day and night and stuff, I talked to them about this and they don't understand. Like there comes a point to where they might agree with me on 3 things, but then they're just like, after I start talking about time and space and creation and evolution being a part of creation and God's natural hand versus God's supernatural hand, which is a spiritual realm versus a physical realm, and all the things that have been created to actually work in certain mechanics, like our DNA, our RNA is all coding that actually writes itself and can actually evolve or actually de-evolve, which is what mutations are and like deformities are and stuff like that. These are all natural mechanics which God has created, but God can intervene with these natural mechanics and actually alter them and do supernatural things. And that is what we call miracles. That is what we call his supernatural hand. So like, you know, when I do become a trillionaire sometime soon, I'm going to actually start my own church. It's going to be called the New Generation United Church of Zion. And I'm going to try to enlighten people. The Bible's going to stay the same. There's nothing different about the Bible. The Bible's exactly true as it is. There are like 2 or 3 mistranslations in the Bible, but that's expected to happen with the language that was never actually written down for an entire like 100 generations. It was only a spoken language, and then eventually they got most basic forms of writing for it, which is Hebrew, and then eventually they have what we call a medium type of style for their writing. A lot of words mean a lot of things depending on how they're phrased. So good and perfect, depending on how you say the word in the sentence, it can actually mean multiple things. So good can mean good, or good can mean perfect, or perfect can mean good, or perfect can mean perfect. And they have a lot of duality words like that within their language. And even the best scholars, you know, writing this down from generations and generations ago when their language was actually simpler than it is even today, it's hard to actually translate everything through the exact precise way. And so because they don't see this, they only just think, well, God wrote the Bible and the Holy Spirit wrote the Bible and it's perfect. You have to understand that man in their own free will and understanding also retranslated the Bible. And while yes, it is like 99.9% accurate, which I can agree with myself, there are a few translations in there that actually have been mistranslated. And you can't actually show that to other people because, like I said, you change one detail of their belief and understanding and their entire existence falls apart. They start ripping their hair out, bashing their skull against things, screaming at the top of their lungs. They don't know what's real and what's not anymore. Heck, even going to the point of committing suicide. Like, that's how fragile people's mentalities and mindsets are. You can't teach them anything. Because if you try to, they can't take it. Their minds aren't built that way. Their minds are engineered to from the way they perceive and understand things, that it's just they understand it this way or no way at all. They can't learn anything. They can't evolve, really. It's I don't know what I'm trying to say here on those terms, but it's hard to put it into words sometimes. But, you know, people are finicky beings, and that's just how it is. So, I really like human beings. I think they're a beautiful species, and I know that we have ancestors that have evolved and mostly stayed the same at the same time, that exist within different planets and stuff. We have actually had technologies that allowed us to go to other planets. Even nowadays, I believe that we still have some technologies that allow us to do that, but only the most top secret government people have it for whatever reason. I mean, I don't want a bunch of idiots flying spaceships. I didn't mean idiots. I just meant people that weren't ready flying spaceships around and going to other planets and abducting and raping other, you know, forms of life and stuff like I don't want that. You know, if they're ready for that stuff, I want them to be evolved. I want them to be kind, compassionate. I want them to help other beings. So, in a form, I'm really glad that that technology is not in the hands of the entire world, because they can barely take care of themselves and each other right now. They do not deserve to have some kind of amazing evolved technology right now. There's already enough beings in the whole entire, you know, universe that are going out there and abducting other people off other planets, and no matter how much they know and stuff, their nature's still their nature, and they're raping others and destroying and murdering and killing and corrupting, and it's like, hello, you're an ascended being. I mean, like, look at the simplest life forms and look at you. Is this really what you want to do with your existence? Okay. Well, thank you.
So, you saw this dragon with
I know
your
churches, like, you know, if I were to organize a church like that, it would be persecuted, there would be picketers, there would be people that were just going crazy over it, it would get bombshelled by all these mainstream communities and torn apart and picked apart and turned upside down, and possibly even have suicide bombers and people coming in with spraying with guns. And you know, if I had a church like that, I tell you what I would do. I would actually encourage and even establish a way for all the people that came to my church to get training in martial arts, hand-to-hand combat, and weaponry. I'm telling you, the people are too defenseless in today's generation. And that's why they get raped, that's why they get murdered, that's why churches get lit up by guns and stuff. And the whole time people are just like preaching this message most of the time, like, well, Jesus came and he died on the cross for us, so it's our example that we should just let him kill us and murder us and rape us and beat us to death and slit our throats and hurt our children and murder our children. It's okay. It's okay. God will take care of them. God will handle it. We shouldn't defend ourselves whatsoever. Just let them come and do whatever they want to us. Well, you know, it's okay to martyr yourself, but at the same time, you have to understand what martyring is. Martyring is an example of you just going out, still proclaiming the name of God and living by the way of God and loving God. That's martyring. But to actually just let someone come up and kill you and rape you and murder you and stuff, that really isn't martyring. That's just you dying. Like, if you had, let's say, a church, and you were in your church, and someone came in that church with a gun, okay? But your church was armed, and they all had weapons as well, and they understood how to use them, okay? And they were able to protect themselves. Yeah, sure, you're gonna try not to kill the dude that's in there with the gun trying to kill y'all, and talking him down and saving him might actually happen, you know? And during that process, people might die because they're trying to help that guy and they died. But that's martyring, you know? That's like a type of martyr right there. But at the same time, you know, you're trying to defend your home, your property, your church, your place that's there, your children, your family, and there's no crime in that. A lot of people, they think it's wrong to defend themselves. They think it's wrong to defend their property or their home, their churches, whatever, their children. It's not. And so, you know, for me, I'm not the type of person that would just shoot someone in the face.
Yes.
Like a lot of people are. I know it's wrong, and I probably would get in trouble or sued because that's how this world works. Or the guy might come back for retaliation. You never know. But if I were to like shoot someone, I would aim for their legs. I would like shoot them in the legs and maybe the arm or something, you know, the shoulder. I would not try to kill them. I would just try to wound them or incapacitate them to the point to where they couldn't hurt nobody around me or even me. And another thing that's wrong with America is it's either kill or not. There's no in between. There's no like stopping people with all the technologies we have. We have sonar waves like that produce sound that can make people just fall to their knees and be incapacitated for hours. We have all types of like electrical weapons that can actually incapacitate somebody to where they don't have to be killed. The problem is that the population is rising so much. That's the main reason they just kill. Is because, like, where are we gonna put them? We get all these people, we get all these bad people and stuff. Or we're just gonna put them in more prisons. Those are overpopulated by trillions already. You know, like, I mean, I get that, but still, we should try to incapacitate people rather than murder or kill them. I mean, but at the same time, it's not wrong to kill people. It's wrong to murder people, and there's a difference between murdering and killing. Like, if you murder someone, it's someone that's innocent that didn't do anything wrong. If you kill someone, it's because they're trying to hurt you. They're trying to kill you. They're trying to take your life. They're trying to kill your family members or hurt them. And you know, if they're just trying to hurt them, you shouldn't even have to kill them. You should just incapacitate them. There's a line there, but if you have to kill them, then you have to kill them. I mean, just like animals, you hunt an animal down and kill an animal so that you can have food and that you can eat, right? And if you didn't have to do that, then you don't have to do that. Now, murdering animals, on the other hand, whenever people in the store and stuff get all this meat, right? They get thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of meat.
So, you were at Helgen.
There are animals that they just take to this house, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds in this factory, and thousands. I mean, we're talking about 10,000s of animals die every single day. 10,000s that have thoroughly been bred just for that point. And so they take them into these house things or these factory things and they murder them, okay? They don't kill them, they murder them. Now, okay, I can't say they're all murdered. Some are actually killed, some are murdered. Some animals are murdered, some animals are killed. Now, the animals that are killed are the ones that actually are killed and put to use and used as food and not gone to waste and actually done because it's out of necessity. All the rest of them are actually murdered because all their meat goes to waste. It doesn't get eaten. It gets thrown away when it goes bad on the shelves and stuff. All their body parts and stuff like that that isn't used and just disposed of. It was just, there was like no point to it. It didn't have to happen. It wasn't a necessity. It wasn't something that should have happened. It was something that was done for no reason. Hence murder. So yes, there are like tens and tens and tens of thousands of animals that are killed each and every day in the United States alone. Like, just one factory produces up to 10,000 cows a day. 10,000 cows a day. And that's just one factory in Texas. So every single day around the entire world, if you think about all the factories there are that they kill animals in, all the chickens, all the ducks, all the hens, all the cows that they have been bred just for that purpose. That is like hundreds of thousands, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of animals that are being slaughtered every day. Now, out of all those animals, how much meat goes to waste? So there's like, I don't even know if there's a number big enough to put on how many stores there are in the entire world that have meat, that have markets, that have all this stuff.
Need something?
And every single day, every single one of those markets and places throws away meat that's not been used, that's expired or whatever, it says expiration date on it. And they just throw hundreds and thousands and hundreds and thousands and hundreds and thousands of pounds of meat away. And yet we still have starvation all over the world, which they can at least try to give them to the starving people. I don't think starving people are going to care if they get sick or not. They're starving. They're like, well, this is 2 days past the date, give it to me. Why are you throwing it away for? Putting it in landfills, throwing it in the middle of the ocean on dumpster things. I mean, instead of actually doing some good with the meat and
Yes.
putting it where it can possibly be beneficial, they just throw it away. So that animal's life right there, every single one of them that are just being thrown away, they're being wasted. Those animals died, were bred and died in vain. You know. But anyway, I don't know how I got on that. I was just talking about self-defense. So like learning things like martial arts, karate, and using weapons and teaching their kids about weapons and weapon smarts and stuff. You know, it is true. Every time someone that's irresponsible handles a weapon, well, thank you. I'm not the best or anything, you know. I'm just a created. I've been given a slither, like a slither of knowledge, and I just want to help others learn and understand. And like 99.9% of the people that I've talked to don't. They have their own ideals, their own mindsets, their own journeys, their own understandings, their own perceptions, and I can't talk to them. Like I'll start talking and be like, oh yeah, oh cool, oh no, nope, 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 nope. I'm like, dang, I thought you were actually listening. I thought you were trying to, you know, there always comes a point to where they're just, they don't really believe or understand, and that's fine. You know, I can't judge them for that. Like I said, I'm here today and gone tomorrow. Unless on the amazing event that God intervenes with his natural hand in me, which are genetics and my genetic coding, and actually uses his supernatural hand, whether it be through his servants or him. Because the Bible says in Solomon, whenever you extend your hand out to the neighbor, to your neighbor, well, it's actually in Proverbs, but that's, I think King Solomon wrote Proverbs. Could be wrong on that exact reference, but Proverbs does say when you extend your hand out to your neighbor, it is as though you're extending God's very own hand out. And so every servant of God is an extension of his own hand. So he uses his servants to do a lot, like a lot. And so his servants basically do a lot of things. They're called angels. And they don't all look exactly like a human. Sorry to tell anybody that, but angels come in many forms, many shapes, many races, many genders. Well, there's only male or female, but you know what I'm saying. And a lot of people refuse to believe that, of course, but it's true. And so, even with his own servants intervening supernaturally into the natural hand of my genetics, and altering them, so where Jesus' genetics were altered, and even his spiritual awareness was altered. So, Jesus, he defied physics. He flew, he levitated off the ground, actually flew into the air. He walked on water. He actually genetically altered what we would call genetics of wine and turned it into water, or water into wine. So he genetically altered the water's makeup, its genealogy, the molecules, the atoms, everything within it. He altered that and changed it into wine. So people just say, oh, water into wine, that's simple. But it's really not. He actually reached into the genetics of the water and altered it and made it into wine. Okay, in our terms, our gamer terms, Jesus was a modder. Okay, he was a modder. He modded the water and turned it into wine. Now he did that because God gave him the ability through his own, Jesus's genetics, spiritually, physically, his makeup. It was altered to be able to do that, right? So whenever you have mods in the game, what is that? It's an alteration of what the natural game is. That's why we call it vanilla. Vanilla means natural. Skyrim was vanilla, but now that I've added mods, It's actually changed the coding of it. It's changed the script of it. It's changed its makeup, and it's made it into something different. Even though it looks the same, as you can see, I have a 20-foot dude that I can't even see on because his coding has been altered. His genetics, his makeup, his script, what makes him him. The lighting in here has been altered. It's literally just reaching into something and changing its coding. So our genetics has coding. Our makeup, what makes us us, water, wine, all of it. And God has the ability with his supernatural hand to intervene with what we call, I guess let's call it the vanilla universe. Unmodded, unscripted, created the original way that he intended to create the entire multiverse. All dimensions, all time, all space. Now, boom. Okay, it's all created. Just like this. Normal, vanilla. Then God comes in with this supernatural hand and he mods it. He changes it. He alters it to whatever he wants it to be. So he comes in and he starts allowing changes to happen. This is what we refer to as modding. He blesses Jesus' genetics and his makeup and what makes him him, his scripts, all that, and mods it. And Jesus then becomes supernatural. He defies all physics and all things that exist within our, what we call vanilla system, right? And so Jesus can now walk on water. He's modded to where he can actually do that. He's changed his script, his genetics, his being, to where he can walk on water. No one else can do that. Now guess what? Whenever Peter gets out the boat and he looks at Jesus, he can walk on water. Why is that happening? Because Jesus is actually not just altering himself, but because of God and what we call the Holy Spirit, which is like amazing, it also altered Peter, which we all have it within us. We can actually, all of us can do this. But we have to be able to understand how to reach the mods, how to reach that capability. And so Peter, he was walking on water. And he's like, what? And all of a sudden it's like, and there's waves that are like 100 feet. And he starts thinking, oh my God, what am I doing? This isn't like vanilla. This isn't like what I'm used to, what our vanilla system's like with the... I can't do this. This is impossible. Oh God, I'm drowning. You know, so like because of that, he wasn't able to fully enable his mods. Because of his perspective, understanding of what he knew about the vanilla world around him, what was naturally created, the mods that Jesus was demonstrating and the way Jesus was doing things through his scripts and genetic coding and all that, he didn't understand how to get to that level. He only understood what he lived in forever, the vanilla world of Skyrim. You know, he hear, touch, see, and smell how everything's supposed to be, the natural hand of God. But he didn't understand fully the supernatural hand of God. And because of that, he was unable to fully achieve what he could have achieved. But any being in existence is capable of doing it. Good or bad, unfortunately. And the bad ones I call Sith. They go around doing all kinds of bad things, corrupting and doing all this, but they have all this knowledge. They have this ability, these abilities to be modders and do so much because they're highly enlightened and they understand things. But instead, they would just rather go around raping and destroying and killing and abducting and kidnapping and corrupting. Well, okay, whatever. But the good ones are so much more powerful than the bad ones because they have God's hand behind them. While these beings only understand the mods, it's like this. Skyrim that I'm playing now. I didn't create these mods I have, right? That I'm using. I'm just using mods that were created already. It was a knowledge base I understood that existed, I obtained it, and I'm using it. But with God behind them, God gives them the ability to interact with the modding system, kind of like a creation toolkit. And he gives them the ability to have so much more unlimited potential than just what already exists, and understanding how to manipulate that. He gives them unlimited authority. He lets them run as administrator. If you understand what that means on a computer, he lets them have full authority over everything. Time, space, dimensions, existence, genetics, genetic coding, DNA, RNA, molecules, atoms, electrons, neutrons, every single segment of all that exists. And he gives them the little shield mark like on a computer, run as administrator. Now these guys over here that are bad, they don't have that. They don't have that mark. They only have what already exists. What little data bits are flowing around, some knowledge. But these beings right here have unlimited everything. And that's because God's behind them. And now that they're admin, they're able to coax the system so much better. And that's where we stand, you know, like I feel that God can alter my genetics. He can alter my DNA and RNA coding. He can heal me. He can remove all rogue cells from my body that are bad and evil and corrupted and destroy them completely and protect me from cancer. He can protect me from death. He can even alter me to where I don't age one bit ever. He can allow my genetics to be altered and spiritual and genetics to be altered to the point to where I can fly. I can move as fast as Flash. You ever seen the Flash? I can be super strong. I can pick up cars. I can pick up planets. I mean, literally, there is no limitation when you're running with God, because he allows you to become an admin, an administrator, but only if you're capable of handling that responsibility. If you're not ready for that knowledge, if you're not ready for that responsibility, if you're not ready for any of that, he's not going to give it to you. The Bible says, don't throw your pearls amongst the swine. And, you know, pearls are pearls of knowledge, pearls of wisdom, pearls of privilege, of blessing, of authority, of things you can do and go and say and understand and see. And I have been blessed with a beautiful pearl, and I don't want to stain that pearl. I don't want to hurt that pearl. I don't want to dirty that pearl. I want that pearl to be safe forever. But I don't want to just hide the pearl like the guy did with the talon. God gave him a talon, the first servant, and in the Bible it says he went and he buried that talon. That's what he did to it. He took that talon, he buried it, and that's it. And he walked off. And then he gave the second servant a talon, and that servant just went to one guy, just one. And he said, here. And it made 2 talons. That was one for him and one for him. And there was the other servant that went and he made 3 talons. 1 talon, 1 talon, so he made double fold. And it goes on and on. The talon just kept multiplying. Well, he comes back to the first servant and he's like, the master says, well, you know, what have you done with the talon I gave you? You know, that pearl I gave you, that pearl, what did you do with it? And the first servant said, well, I feared that someone would take it from me or that someone would do something to it, so I buried it. And he actually got rebuked by his master, and he was corrected and told that was the wrong thing to do. His master wasn't pleased with him. And the guy that only made 1 talon off of it, just one to another, just one, he was very pleased with him. And he was just as pleased with every other one. So whenever you learn something that's really amazing from God, you get a pearl. And, you know, for simpler folk, I'm not putting them down. The ones that just talk about Jesus dying and resurrecting and loving, and they're amazing. They have a pearl, and that pearl is amazing, and they should share that with everybody. But that is not where I have been seated at. Everybody else is seated at, like, these little tables down here, but I feel like I've been seated up here with the king. That's kind of what I feel like. This is where I've been seated. And I want to bring other people here so they can eat some sweet rolls with me and some apples. And we can chill together. That's what I want. You know, I'm not the king. I'm not. I'm just a servant. I'm just the created. See, Jesus, this is where he sits. And the
So
Father
you
in
were
heaven,
Helgen.
well, he
You
sits
saw
even
this
higher than
dragon with
Jesus.
your own eyes?
His throne
Now,
is
if you
even
don't
higher
mind,
than
I've
Jesus'
got a
throne.
city to keep. So you were in Helgen. You saw this dragon.
Okay, talk to me already.
You were in Helgen.
Not you, him.
You saw this dragon with your own
He
eyes.
keeps trying to talk to me about this dragon.
But it's none of my concern who the Imperials want to execute, especially now. What I want
But
to
you know,
is
out of all that stuff
exactly
does make God
happened.
amazing, but that's not why I love God. The reason I love God is because God's nature.
What do you say now, Professor?
God's nature is loving, kind, compassionate, forgiving, enduring, creating, helping, benefiting, being faithful, being loyal, peaceful, gentle, meek, humble. No matter what God has been through, how much, if you think about since the first time God, the first thing God created was his household, the kingdom of Zion. And let's just say at the very first part, he creates his own little house, right? Or big house, whichever. It's probably like a castle or something. So he creates that.
Well done.
Then he expands his city out
On your own initiative.
a little bit, you know, and he creates like this town around his castle, or this little city around his castle,
Token of my
and then he expands it out a little more. Then he creates some beings. He's like, well, I'm going to create this being, 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 this being. Okay, for whatever reasons, he gives them all different abilities to do stuff. He gives them knowledge next. Okay, now that they have knowledge, well, you can tell them what to do and where to go, and they'll listen, but that's it. They won't talk to each other. They won't really interact unless you tell them to. They won't do things on their own because they don't have free will. So then God gives them free will, and boom, free will and knowledge. Now they have all this good and pure and loving and kind and amazing knowledge on how to do different things, how to build, how to speak, how to talk, how to walk, how to breathe, how to sing, how to love, how to be compassionate, how to be forgiving, how to be gentle. And then he gives them free will so that they can go and they can be alive. They can talk to one another. They can experience things with one another. They can teach one another. They can learn. They can experience. And you know, he's in his own household. He's in his giant castle like I am right now. You know, he's on his creator throne, and he gets off and he sees all of them walking around and talking and doing things, and it's so amazing, right? They're building, they're expanding, they're making the kingdom of Zion bigger, they're communicating, right? And he's so happy. And so, as they create, you know, this place, he wants to create more, so they start expanding out and they start creating what we call the multiverse, you know, different states of dimensions, different planets, different mechanics, different creations, trees, plants, life, different creatures, different forms of creatures, you know, and they're all being given the same thing of knowledge and free will and experience, and while this is happening, you know, he understands. While he's on his throne, while he's doing these things, he understands. He gave them free will, and he gave them knowledge. So with free will, every being that is born, every individual being that is being created, however they're created or born, in his household, his castle right here, that's God's, right? He literally understands that they're capable of turning against him because they have free will. So with free will, they're able to say, well, you know, I don't want to drink this drink today. I want to drink this drink today. And that same likeness, they're like, they're walking in, right? Like one of them is like, well, I don't think I want to be in this castle anymore. I don't think I really want to serve that guy in the throne over there anymore. I don't really think I like his ways anymore. Because I have free will. And I have knowledge. And I know so much. And I've seen so much. But I don't know. He's not doing it for me anymore. I want to do my own thing and go experience stuff. And does that make them necessarily bad? At that point, no. That just means they're curious. They want to go do things. The prodigal son all over again. They make mistakes. They do things they regret. You know, whatever it is. Hence the beings trying to help humankind out in the very early existence of the Bible, after God told them not to in the book of Enoch. You know, there were beings that made mistakes. They had free will, they had knowledge, they did the prodigal son thing. Some of them came back and asked for forgiveness because they made a mistake, and other ones decided just to say, you know what, whatever, forget this place, forget Zion, forget everything, I'm just leaving, you know, I don't care, right? Because that's what beings are capable of doing. But God on his throne, he, since the beginning of his household, his castle being established, right? God created beings. Some of these beings turned against him after he gave them the breath of life, the essence, the creation. He gave them the free will. He gave them the knowledge. He gave them everything they could ever dream of, and it taught them so much, and it was so kind and compassionate to them. And you know what they did to him? They took his little table and they just rampaged it and threw all his stuff everywhere and mistreated it, mistreated his heart, and didn't care, and basically spit on him and just like and did this. They created a giant, enormous mess. And it wasn't just a mess that hurt God's heart. It wasn't the mess. It was the fact that he did all this for them. And they treated him like that. Imagine if you were a father and you gave your son or your daughter everything, and they told you that they hated you, that they despised you, they despised your ways. They said the most hurtful things or did the most hurtful things to you. It's where your heart just broke in two. And you were sad. You were sad, you were broken. You were angry. You were hurt. That is God's story. People don't realize it, but God hurts. God feels pain. God has been through so much since the beginning of existence and creation, just from his own household. Not to mention every single dimension. Picture these boards as a whole entire timeline. Going forward, going backward. Now picture each one of these boards as a different dimension. Right? Now picture every single, let's say, split this board in 4 segments, right? Now every single segment of this board is a representation of different parts of the universe. Now within inside this board, right, there's details, kind of like on this little thing right here. There's details within inside each fragment of this board. And inside those details are nebulas and clusters of galaxies. Now you go even further inside these clusters of galaxies, and inside every single galaxy there's a planet. And on every single planet that has life, there's an individual. Now on every single individual, there's another individual, another individual, another individual. So you have planets full of individuals that exist within one galaxy. I'm talking about one galaxy probably has like thousands of planets in it that has hundreds of billions of trillions of trillions of trillions of individuals that are born constantly or dying constantly. And that's just one galaxy. And another galaxy, another galaxy, another galaxy, another galaxy, another galaxy, another galaxy, and that's just on one piece of board. Okay? And then another piece of board, 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 another piece of board. And these are all nebula clusters of galaxies, clusters of galaxies, clusters of galaxies, with hundreds and billions and trillions and unnumberable individuals of life. Every single individual born has to learn about God, has to hear about God somehow, which is the Bible. He communicates that he exists through the Bible on our planet. I don't know about other planets, but just on our planet alone, so you're not taken back so far, our planet alone, every individual that's been born ever since the beginning of our planet, which we don't even understand how long ago that was, every individual has to come to terms that God exists. Do you want to serve God, or do you not want to serve God? Now, the people that don't want to serve God are an entire line here, right? And ever since the creation of our planet alone, they have said the most hurtful things about God, against God, to God. They've hurt, raped, and murdered God's creations, God's people, over and over and over. Every individual ever created that is on this line that doesn't want to serve God, that has raped, beaten, murdered, talked about, blasphemized, all kinds of things of God's people since the beginning of time. And God, okay? And then there's the ones that love God. And then there's just the people in the middle. They're either gray or neutral. They're lost, they don't know about God, they never learn about God, or they just don't care no matter what, but they don't really want to be bad people, but they don't want to be good people. They're just kind of in the middle. Sometimes they do bad things, sometimes they do good things, but they just kind of always align in the middle. And so if you put that in perspective, God has been through so much pain, so much turmoil, so much sorrow, so much abusings verbally, mentally, spiritually, physically, pretty much in a sense. I mean, God has been through a lot. And God feels a lot of pain. And in his establishment, you know, I really feel bad for God, like for all the things he's been through, and for all the pain he's felt, and for all the hurt he's endured. And on top of that, his son, let's say this is now his son's castle, okay, which is under God's. Now his son's throne room is right here. Now his son's throne room is pretty much always empty. And you want to know why Jesus' throne room is always empty in perspective? Because Jesus is always out here on these boards, and he's always in every individual one, going to every single individual planet that he can think of to glorify and edify God's name, to claim that territory, that planet as his own, to teach those people about God, teach the people about God's ways, to teach the people that he is the Son of God, directly linked by DNA, RNA, all that stuff. We're created. We were created by the breath of life. In essence, Jesus was not. Jesus was created directly from God. It's a completely different creation method. God creates us through the breath of life and through his life essence. It's kind of similar to Jesus' creation, but Jesus' creation was through a man and a woman, and however that happened, and there was a son. Kind of like on Earth, pretty much. And so, if you look in our DNA, in our biology, in our RNA, in our genetics, in our blood types, we would not match with God's quote-unquote blood type. But if you were to put Jesus's there and match it up to God's, it would be biologically correct. And it would be his biological father. For us, no. Now, on a spiritual manifestation of the breath of life and how we're created of dust of the ground and all that stuff, you know, that creation process was kind of like this fire that forges things. It's hard to even explain, but you can create things through a blacksmith's fire, right? You forge it, you create it, it's different. But with Jesus, he is directly tied to God. And Jesus is an active king that is constantly going to planet to planet to planet to planet. He's on the front lines. He's going to other beings and other races and other places, and he's telling them about God, about him, about what to do, how to live, how to be. Because he is an active king. He is a good king. And he is on the front lines like a good king is. But at the same time, how do you go down into all these board details and go to this segment and go to this galaxy and go into this galaxy and go into this planet and go into this planet with this type of race? Now let's say the planet's our planet, Earth, and you have our race, which has a bunch of sub-races. It's a race with sub-races. Because you got different colored people, but that's about it. That's what makes us sub-races, is like white, black, yellow, whatever. It's literally pigmentation of skin, but it's still sub-races because they do have genetical differences. Like, some are built to run faster and longer, and some are built to be smarter because their brains are just engineered that way, and some are built to be I would just say like fighters, laborers, you know, things like that. But every subrace on our planet does have genetical alterations that allow them to be faster or stronger or slower or smarter. Like Japanese and Chinese people almost have genetics to fight. That's really kind of what they do. But at the same time, they have a lot of genetics that really make them smart. That's why they're like the best at technology, the best at thinking, and the best stuff like that. If you notice that, no matter how many generations go by, they've always seemed to be very intellectually smart for some reason. You know, I mean, African American people have genetics to be really fast, and they can jump really high, and things like this. And no matter how many generations go by, even though people are saying, well, it's because they're from Africa or whatever, and it was lions and hunting and stuff, I can't disagree or agree with that. But what I can say is that there have been in the United States now, outside of hunting and stuff, for many generations, and there's still the same exact type of genetic material within them. I think it's just their subrace is just, that's what it is. Like, they're faster and stronger. And I don't really know what white people are, because there's so many different breeds of white people. There's like Irish or Scottish. There's God, I could go on all day. A white person is literally just a lighter complexion of skin. But there's so many different subcategories of that. There's the Irish, there's the Scottish, there's the, I would say Russians are kind of white because they have like lighter skin, and then Germans and Norwegians and the Nords, you know. So there's many different forms of like white people. But they all have different talents. Like the Nord people, their genetics make them more hardy to the cold, and they're kind of strong, you know. And kind of, it's just how it happens. So everybody has different genetical sets. Now, my point, I got really distracted here, is that Jesus had to come to our planet. He had to interface or interact with our race. Now, how do you do that? Now, sure, Jesus could have came here, he could have altered his genetics and shape-shifted, and we never would have known, and he could have just taught us and done a bunch of miracles and left. But God and Jesus are more interactive than that. They're more detailed than that. God wanted Jesus, his son, to have a story here. So he allowed his son to come in spiritual form, to impregnate a woman in a supernatural way. She did not have sexual intercourse whatsoever. And so, again, there's that modding. God allowed mods by his supernatural hand to intervene with the vanilla world as we know it, and interact with her womb, and interact with her in a supernatural way. And he did that through manipulating genetics and manipulating cellular structures and everything in the natural, but doing it in a supernatural way. He changed the coding and the scripting of what is natural, what is vanilla, as we call it, the original, and with the supernatural hand intervened in it and created a new type of happening. Now, through that, his son was actually born into this world, into our form, so that we could see him as he is in our race. I mean, if Jesus came down, and let's just say, I don't really know how many races there are out there, but there's so many different forms, so I'm just gonna say this one. If Jesus came to Earth and he looked like E.T. from that show E.T., and he had like a elongated sideways head with like bigger eyes and 3 fingers and a tubby little belly. And he's like, I am the son of the creator. Would we accept him? Hell no. We would have beat him down. We would have cut him apart. We would have tried to see what makes him function. And we would have been doing horrible experiments and things all over him, or we would have just shot him and killed him and buried him. Because that's what we do. We are fearful people. But it's not just us. There's a lot of beings that would act that way in the multiverse. They're not used to what they don't see. They can't understand it. So Jesus had to come into a form that we could understand. He had to speak a language that we could hear and understand and interpret. He had to give teachings and lessons that were subjected to our time period that we could understand and that we could keep and comprehend. So within that, it's also a living testimony on our planet about Jesus and his life. Okay? So Jesus in his life, he was born as a baby in a supernatural way because God wanted Jesus to be set apart. Okay? So for those who believed, Jesus was set apart by his birth alone. Just his birth was amazing. If you believe in that, if you believe that really happened, okay, because there are people that don't believe. They believe that, you know, Joseph slept with Mary, or they believe that Mary was actually out sleeping around and she was scared to get persecuted, and because back then they condemned females to death for that. So, you know, it's funny because God always makes sure he does things where there's still susceptible room for people to make the choice to believe or not believe. Because he could have, like, done all these fireworks and explosions and really loud rumblings and supernatural weather effects, but he didn't do that. He did do it in a supernatural set apart way, but at the same exact time, on the same exact note, the way he did it was a spectacle, but a silent spectacle. He did it to where, okay, you have the choice here to believe that this was a supernatural event that was set apart to show my son's coming, or you could have the choice to not believe, or you can have the choice to just be like, well, I'm kind of neutral. I don't know if I believe or not. And that's how God is, always, because that gives choice. Because choice is a privilege that he has given all of us. And with that privilege, he has to honor that privilege by always giving choice. He doesn't have to, but he does, because that gives that privilege of having the choice. Now, Jesus came into this world, he had a whole entire storyline, and he died, and he left. And it's really sad how he died, because I feel that if man's hearts and minds weren't so corrupt and so greedy and so evil, then they wouldn't have had to have killed him. They could have listened to him or not listened to him, and he could have died of natural causes or disappeared within the night, and people could have just been like, oh, well, he did ascend and all this, just like they said before, but people wouldn't have believed it. They were like, oh, well, maybe he got killed by some bandits, or maybe he just, you know, ran off to another country or whatever. He didn't have to die, because in my opinion, my belief, I think it was something God probably did want to happen in a sense, but we're not saved because, like, Jesus' blood, I do believe can save us because it's inherently his Father's blood. It's that powerful, but honestly, it's all a choice of God. Like, really, if it all comes down to it, God's like, you know, either you're saved or you're not. Either I like you or I don't. Either I want you in my household or I don't. Either I want you in heaven or I don't. I mean, it's literally that simple. Like, Jesus' blood is extraordinary because it possesses God's genetical material within it. It's related to God in a direct sense. That makes it really amazing, of course, but, you know, not saying God would ever do this to Jesus, but if God told Jesus, I'm just saying, if he did, in metaphorical senses, because I know God loves Jesus very much, but if he told Jesus, you know, you're not my son no more, and he wiped Jesus' name out the book of life, and he cast Jesus down, then Jesus' blood wouldn't even matter anymore, right? Because God didn't consider it to be worthy anymore. But It is, and he does, which is good. So in a sense, God is greater than even Jesus, right? So Jesus is a big part of things because God wanted him to be, because that's his son. God wanted Jesus' heritage to be everything God owned, everything God created, everything God touched, everything God had. That was Jesus' heritage. So he worked Jesus' way into our existence. Jesus' name, Jesus is known, to make him known, you know. And in that grand event of Jesus dying, that was to glorify the Father and to also receive the glory in which the Father was going to give to him. Because what ultimate demonstration more is there than your king actually dying for you? Like, what king would do that? There aren't many kings that would do that, that would actually go out there, be on the front lines, you know, accept torture and torment and persecution and die all for their people. What kind of king is that? That is an amazing king, right? You know, David was a good king because he fought on the front lines, but, you know, Jesus is even more of an extraordinary king because he fought on the front lines even to the point of death. You know, like, there's no other greater act for a king to do for his people. He took care of them, he did miracles for them, he fed them, he clothed them, well, in a sense he clothed them, but he did feed them for sure. He did many miracles, he rose the dead to life, he restored limbs, he gave them their sight back. He cared for his people on this planet. And in the end, his ultimate demonstration of love was his sacrifice. And so it's symbolic. God is very symbolic in many ways to show that this is mine. This is what I set apart. This is how I act. This is how I demonstrate things. This is how my son acts. You know, because action, it determines everything. But a lot of people in Christianity don't understand this. They don't care to understand this. They don't want to learn this. They want to argue about it. They want to get lost against it. They don't care. So when you've been given a beautiful, beautiful pearl like I have, and you try to give it to others, all they want to do is stomp on it. They want to throw it and poop. They want to poop on it, pee on it, and hurt it and scar it and damage it and do so many bad things to it, or just ignore it or shun it and persecute it. Oh man, it's so annoying and it's so sad. I've been going on for like 2 hours now. I haven't even played the game, but all in all, that is the talent I'm giving you. That is the pearl I'm trying to give to you. That is a shred of enlightenment and knowledge. A piece of Illuminati. That just means enlightened ones. That's all it means. When you're enlightened, you're good or bad. It doesn't really matter. I mean, there's enlightened good beings, there's enlightened bad beings. The word Illuminati is not bad itself. People make it into this crazy thing, but it's really not. Like Illuminati just means enlightened one, or enlightened ones, or enlightened. Depends on how you use it. And so there's a lot of quote-unquote Illuminati that exists with the entire multiverse. There's good ones, bad ones, and neutral ones. So it's all about what you make it. These people, they get a tiny shred of knowledge and they run 20 billion miles with it and make it into everything, and it's just only a piece. We're
one of the same kind, you and I. I'm glad to have met you.
Well, thank you. You made me feel important in life and existence and time and space. I want to do so much, man. I have this brilliant and amazing mind that I believe holy beings and good-hearted and natured beings have helped me obtain, and I want to change the world, but I'm one of these people that, like, I have I try to do something and I instantly get shut down, or discouraged, or sad, or I just don't know in general where to go or how to do it or how to start it. You know, like, no matter how smart I seem, I'm not that smart, but I mean, I've got a step ahead on humanity, I feel. No offense to humanity, but anyways, I'm just a created, you know, I'm nobody. I'm not God, I'm not a God, I'm nobody. I'm just a created servant that wills to help others. And as I've seen many times in history, beings like that always get persecuted, they get tore down, they get shut down, they get forgotten. Tesla was amazing. The guy created wireless energy, for crying out loud, using the Earth's rotational movement and own gravitational magnetic electromagnetic field that she produces to produce electricity. And I kind of understand how this works. I don't know how, but maybe I was Tesla in a past life, or maybe I knew Tesla. I don't really know. And so, like, these people, just because they were greedy and simple-minded, they shut him down, they destroyed everything he had, and that's it. He was forgotten about. And nowadays, you know, we could have power sources that just work as long as the Earth works, and it's a pretty simple power source, actually. And there's so many other power sources we have that we're just now getting in touch with. Solar panels, wind, water's pretty old school, but you know, everything around us is literally a way of having electricity, a way of having power. And something that basic people don't even want. They don't, because of their own simplistic thinking, their own simplistic ways, their own simplistic natures, and it's so like majority set that, you know, what I'm offering, how could they even want that? How could they even understand it? How could they even believe it? And if they did, would they be good beings or bad beings? I don't know. Would they use this knowledge to take care of each other and help make the world better? Or would they twist it around and make it corrupt and evil and horrid and do horrible things with it? And, you know, that's kind of the Jedi's worst path. The Jedi's worst path. Because every Jedi becomes from a Padawan to a Jedi. And when they become a Jedi, they have to take a Padawan on. Well, they don't have to. They can choose to, but when they do, it's like, how is this Padawan going to turn out? Are they going to become a Darth Vader, like Anakin? I mean, Anakin went through some messed up stuff. I gotta admit, like, I feel bad for the guy. And I kind of get why he turns to the bad side, but, you know, then there's the Sith Lords and stuff, you know, they're just once Jedi that fell, but it's a worse nightmare for a Jedi, because it's like, man, if I give this knowledge out, if I give all this training out, if I give this out to this person, my heart, my understanding, are they gonna turn out to be on the dark side, or are they gonna be on the good side? And Obi-Wan, he was kind of on the neutral side. He didn't really go for the council completely, and he didn't go for the dark side neither. He kind of just lived and did his own thing. But if you look at the council and the way they actually were orchestrated, they were definitely an imperfect type of setup, and I get that. I know I'm making Star Wars references, but you know, that I want to give this knowledge out, but at the same time, I don't want to create monsters or be an enabler to do so. But in this case, the council is definitely associated with God and his servants, and while his servants aren't perfect, God himself is, and he overwatches all beings and all creation and all time and all space and all dimensions. So he does. He has an eye and an ear everywhere. Everything that's ever been done by every individual being since the beginning of time and creation has actually been documented. Can you imagine that file system? Can you imagine that library? Oh my god. That thing takes up 3 segments of dimensions, man. Anyways. I've just been running in circles like a mad person. I think I'm supposed to go... Oh yeah, I was supposed to talk to that sorcerer guy. It does hurt, you know, when people think you're an idiot, when people think you're stupid, when people think you're a liar, when people call you names like blasphemer, heretic, sacrilegious, tell you you're going to hell, God hates you, we don't serve the same God. I mean, I've had tons and tons and tons of stones cast at me because of my belief, by Christian or non-Christian alike. And it's not fun. It's actually pretty hurtful.
Yeah. Well, when I say straight to the point, I learned of a certain stone tablet said to be housed in Bleak Falls Barrow.
This is a priority
Dragon
now.
stone. Said to
Anything we
contain
can
a map
use
of
to fight
Dragon
this dragon.
What I'm gonna do eventually is, I kind of wanted to make my own mods, but I don't really think that's gonna work, so I'm gonna try a different way to do things, but I'm gonna re-give my testimony, and I'm also going to... How does my mic sound? Does it sound really clear? Excuse me, I just drank soda. Does it sound really clear, or does it sound like... Like, you remember my testimonial video? Does it actually sound better than my testimonial video, or the old mic I had? Because I want a better mic than what it had before. Alright, cool. I got a multiple follower, what you call it? Multiple follower mod. So I was thinking about getting a bunch of followers with me, putting like Dawn Guard armor on them, and myself. I'm probably gonna take this mod off that makes my Khajiit enormous. I don't really like this. My character, good god, my character's... Oh god, I just thought of Nephilim. I mean, I don't think Nephilims in general are bad. It's just a crossbreed between, like, I guess what an angel... Whatever race that angel was and a human. But, like, because of the way they acted, I think is why God got mad. Because they were doing really bad things. But I feel like I'm like this half giant, half humanoid being, and it just made me think of a Nephilim. I don't know. There's good Nephilims and bad Nephilims, I'm sure, and a Nephilim is just like, what is an angel? An angel is a servant of God, so there are different forms of those. I'm sure there are the ones that are the originals that were created in Zion in the beginning, and then there are the angels that are just servants of God that were created upon, like, I guess planets and races and stuff. So I guess maybe a Nephilim would be an original angel of Zion, like, you know, being lovers with like maybe a certain type of race of a being that's on a planet as an individual. I can't prove that. I don't know if that's true or not, and for me, I'm just thinking kind of deeply on it. But if you think about it, let's say there was a good alien that served God that was... Have you ever heard of the Greyskins or ever seen of them? Like, the really tall ones are kind of tall and skinnier and stuff. Now, I call them Greyskins to describe them because I don't know their actual race name. But there's good and bad, you know, races of those. Or I mean, beings that are like those of that race. And there's bad ones that hurt people, and there's good ones that really take care of and respect and love people. So let's say that race wanted to like fell in love, one of those beings fell in love with like our race, a human race, right? Someone from the human race, and they got together. Well, they wouldn't be compatible, like, unless there is some crazy different way other than what humans do. You know, they get together, they make love, and that's that. But because of, let's say, genetical differences, you know how a brother and sister, if they were to make love together and they had a child, the child would actually be really messed up because of the genetic deformities. Well, our genetic scripts and codings are different than, let's say, the Greyskins races are. So if you wanted to actually breed with one of them, it wouldn't be a compatible thing, right? Like, I don't really find them sexually attractive or anything, but I find them to be cool, you know, as long as they're not violent or mean or anything. That's with any race. But because of the incompatibility, you know, you couldn't actually make children with them. So in a sense, maybe that also could have happened, you know, back in the Nephilim stages. Like, they weren't really compatible with each other, and they tried to make children, and the children came out really deformed and messed up. Like, maybe that's why God didn't want that to happen, because their genetics weren't compatible. It's either actions or genetics. Now, there's some races, like in the multiverse, that God don't mind breeding together or allowing them to be together because they're compatible on a genetical standard. But then there's races that can't be, you know, together because they're incompatible. Their genetics would cause severe mutations and mutational disorders. Oh, I do have data in here still. Oh. Man, that dude just smacked the crap out of me. So, long story short, that's just what I was thinking about. When I was wearing my Dawn Guard armor and stuff, I would just look enormous compared to everybody else. And it would kind of give me a standard of looking more enlightened than them. Which doesn't mean I'm better than them, but it signifies a sanctification, which means to be set apart. It would just kind of show my character being set apart, you know, to everybody else at the table. So, like, I was thinking on a symbolic basis, that might be cool. Not that I'm better than anyone. Don't ever think that, because I don't. It just shows the... You know how Buddha is depicted in statues, right? Well, in actuality, Buddha was not a fat, not fat, but, how do you say this? He was not, big-bodied like that. And so, like, in actuality, he was actually kind of, not real skinny guy, but he was just kind of an average-built guy. He had some muscles and stuff, and, you know, he was a warrior, he fought a lot. I believe that he fought, I know that he was actually really enlightened and wise, but I think he was also a warrior. But I know for a fact that he did not possess, he wasn't heavyweight or overly big body. But in the statues, he's depicted that way. And there's a reason for that, because you know how you always see him with children crawling all over him and stuff? Well, there's a symbolicness to that. The Buddha in the statue that is bigger bodied, it means his spiritual wealth, his spiritual enlightenment, and his spiritual set apartness compared to everybody else. And the children were actually supposed to be like normal adults, but they were supposed to be, like, compared to his enlightenment, compared to theirs, they were supposed to be infants, right? And he was supposed to be so much more greater, you know, he was just like grown up that was really, really big bodied and stuff, and there was a reason for all that symbology there. Because he had a lot of wise teachings. I can't say he didn't. He had like, it's like almost like Proverbs. And it's almost like, what's his name? Gandhi or something, maybe? I don't really remember his name, but there's a guy that's like this Buddhist monk, and everybody like nowadays likes his stuff, and he got books out, and he's really enlightened and stuff. Kind of the depiction of what Buddha was in those terms. He was very spiritually enlightened. In a sense, he had a lot of spiritual wisdom and stuff about life and peace and trying to come together, and he was just metaphorical, really in touch with stuff like that. And so that's why the Buddha is always depicted mainly as this really, really heavy-set guy that has little infants crawling all over him. And so in a sense, I was thinking maybe it might be beneficial to keep my character as large as he is, because if I could get the multiple followers to follow me, and I could set them all at the table, and then I could set myself at the table, and I would be so much bigger than them, it would be a depiction of a type of spiritual journey, and just showing maybe I'm growing a little more than they have. Doesn't mean I'm better than them, doesn't mean I'm... Trust me, in my nature, I can be just as grim and evil and menacing and malicious, no matter how enlightened I am, as even the simplest of the simple-minded beings ever. There is just no real difference. Knowledge is a tool. And knowledge is a tool that can be used to hurt other beings or help other beings. To enlighten other beings, or to lord over in a bad sense, like a tyrancy kind of sense, lord over other beings, because they're simpler than you, so you can take advantage of that, because they're not as smart as you, so you can use them and manipulate them. Yo, what's up, Golden Warrior?
Divine smile on you, friend.
Need something?
Need something?
Sarah.
Good God, I'm big.
It's so good to see you again.
I don't know what he did with those keys, though. I don't know why they need keys, it says. Did you like the white and black Dwarven armor? I do. I think it looks amazing, white and black. Yeah, my throat starts messing up after I talk for a while. It's really not used to me talking. I don't talk that much, believe it or not. Most of the time I actually just sleep. I sleep and I think. That's what I do a lot. I don't know if I want to do a whole series, but thank you for letting me know that. But what I was thinking about doing instead was, I don't know what's up with this sword. I was gonna redo my whole testimony, and then I was gonna give my beliefs. And that might be like a little series of episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, episode 5. And what I was going to have to do before I did it is sit down and write out what every episode was going to be about and what it was going to be based on the subject of. But I don't know if I could really stretch every one of these topics out. Like what I just gave you, that was 2 hours worth of a bunch of different stuff packed in one. I wonder what's up with the sword. It's like a cheating sword or something, or I guess it's because of the way it looks, maybe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'll pray about it and stuff, and ask God to help guide me, give me the wisdom to be able to depict what to say in each episode and how to draw it out. Even to look for a little bit of biblical scripture on some things, and to also give some documented statements about like different languages and how they translate over to English and stuff, because everybody wants to argue when you tell them stuff, which I don't blame them for, because you want to know if it's true or not, you know? And just taking people at their word, well, you would have over 7.5 billion people on Earth saying every which way of every different type of opinionated subject that they believe to be true. So you wouldn't know what to believe. And I get that. Trust me, I'm still a sinner, and I actually have a few addictions of my own. I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke cigarettes, I don't smoke marijuana any longer. I don't, do any heavy or hard drugs or any drugs of any type. I don't go out and sleep with women all the time, and how am I supposed to get inside of these places? I don't get it. And, I don't go out and try to just undress like 99.9% of the women I see or any of that stuff. I try to think of them in a proper and a good-hearted, natured way, but the thing I suffer from, which I don't really care who holds it against me, I just don't. I suffer from addiction to pornography on the internet, and that's more like a confession, something I've been struggling with, and people can tell me how bad I am, I need to repent, blah blah. We all suffer from something. Whether it's food addiction, whether it's like TV addiction, whether it's gambling addiction, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol or cigarettes or cussing or swearing, or somebody suffers from something. It's just kind of the human condition, as they call it, or just our imperfect natures. And I still love God the same, and every day I'm alive, there's always some type of influence in a spiritual manner that's trying to push me to become corrupt and things like that, and trying to always pollute me more, always trying to make me feel unworthy, trying to discourage me, trying to put me down, trying to make me feel like I'm just crap, trying to make me angry, trying to make me full of hatred, always. And I'm just like, really? You got nothing better to do in space and time and eternal existence and all dimension, time and space but to be here, right now, trying to influence my life, trying to hurt me, trying to mess with me. It's kind of annoying, but whatever. God is greater in every single way and aspect and understanding that defies all time, space, and existence, and I just rely on Him. There's nothing else I can do, but I'm not perfect, Even with all this knowledge I have, as I said before, knowledge is a tool, and what I got is just a drop in the ocean. Imagine one little water drop in all the oceans on the earth. That's what it is. It's nothing. It's the equivalent of... Okay, maybe... Alright. Maybe it's a bottle of water. Okay, I used to have a drop. Now I got like a bottle of water in the middle of... in all the ocean on Earth. Good God. I mean, that's it.
What do you need?
Well, I hope I helped you in your understanding in life. I don't know when I'm going to be on again. I don't know when I'm going to put more or post more. I don't really know what I'm going to do with this or where I'm going with this.
Safe travels.
But I do know that I hope and pray that you have a blessed evening. I hope that I've helped you and viewers that are possibly watching this. And if I wake up tomorrow and well the rest of this year and I'm still alive and everything and in good health,
May the gods watch over your battles, friend.
well, that's awesome. I really do hope I can encourage and help others. And I really pray I can make mods, man. I want to make my own mod. I want to make my own place. Look at this place.
Yes.
It kind of looks like a temple, don't it? I want to make me a temple and like put crosses on it but I want to make it like a castle, like a temple, castle, palace thing, because I like those. I made one on Minecraft a long time ago. It was amazing and enormous. Talking about enormous. It was like a temple, a castle, and a palace all put together. And it was really beautiful and people were really impressed by it. I said a prayer to God before I built that because I was going through a lot of pain because my ex-fiance had left me and stuff. And leave it to me to clear my throat on a mic constantly. Oh my God. And I just went through some bad times. I was really sad, and I prayed to God to help me take my mind off of it. To see, wow, it was really beautiful. To see if I could take my mind off of it, and I just started building one day on a random map on creation mode, and I extended land out on top of an ocean part, and I tore down like a whole entire half of a enormous mountain, and literally from all the way day to all the way night, and to the point of like passing out, I would wake up, very first thing, start building, all the way to the point of just not being able to move no more for like, I'm talking about hours and hours. And then I would just fall asleep again and wake up and then fall asleep again. I did that for 2 weeks. And I ended up building a completely architecturally correctly structured castle slash palace slash temple that had like crosses and it had like a giant wall that went out on the outer sides with like 4 towers. And then it had like an inner sanctum type, I don't know, it was really amazing. So one day hopefully I'll be able to do that. But in this game, with mods and stuff that unfortunately I can't import, but stuff that's already in the game, I'm thinking about making something near Riverwood. Maybe I'll be able to take trees out since people can add trees in. And I'll like take trees out, I'll clear some land off. And or I might just have a door that goes into a different dimension, kind of like the armory. Except I wouldn't make it look like that. I make it look different. There's another thing I was thinking about, just putting a little house down, like a simple house, and having like a servant in it and stuff, and programming him to say certain things and have different interactions. And like what the crap? And I was gonna make it to where, you know, you could sit there and talk to the butler or whatever, the house caregiver guy. What the crap? And eventually you would find a hidden, like, bookshelf, because they have that in this game. What? I did not just one-shot you. Oh, it's on easy, that's why. No way. One-shotting things in this game is not fun. And this door would actually lead over to the new place I was going to create. I was going to make it like an armory. You know, you could have all the items in the game and stuff, but I was also going to make it this, like, really cool looking place that had, like, stained glass windows and, like, beautiful views and stuff outside of it, with ocean all around it and stuff. And probably put a lot of weather to where it was like raining, and you can hear like thunderstorms outside and stuff, and then you hear the sound of crickets a lot. And I would have these tables that were set up with all these people that were sitting at the tables, and they would all be wearing Dawn Guard armor, which kind of reminds me of like a Templar armor in a sense. I don't know why it does, but it does. And that would be where I would redo my testimony at, and I would redo my do my belief stuff at. All my belief episodes, but I can't create none of that, which I could create all that with this game, even with vanilla stuff. I just need a computer that will load up Skyrim, and I need the ability to upload my mods after I create them. But that would be like the first mod I'd work on. I'd also be working on probably the character creation too. I think the sword one-shots everything, that's why it's a cheat sword. Good God, I'm freaking giant. Alright, well I hope you have a good night. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna relax a little bit, watch some Netflix. There is a show on Netflix, if you have it, I recommend you watch. Don't get depressed when you watch it. I mean, okay, I cried a lot when I watched this TV series that they just came out with, or this Netflix series, but I wasn't crying to the point of like depression or just like wanting to do it or anything. It's just, it really helps you understand people as individuals and what they're going through, and you never know what they're going through, you know? And so like the name of this TV series is called 13 Reasons Why. And it's a really good series. I finished it pretty much in 2 nights, maybe 3. And it was really emotional for me. I cried a lot, but it was really enlightening to me, and it was a really good series. So it's like the number 13, and it's called Reasons Why, and it's on Netflix. Whoa, check it out. No way. There's an underwater thing here. Oh yeah? Yeah, it's really good, man. I admit it's if you I'm a dude that can watch shows and cry. I mean, like I'm like that. Like I can even watch some chick flicks and cry. Like a few of them. A lot of them I don't know, but a few of them they have made me cry. And I'm just kind of a sensitive guy. It's just who I am. But that show right there, man, that was a tearjerker. I mean, even like from the very beginning part when I pushed play and I heard her voice, I don't even know why. I just started crying. And I guess it's because I knew she committed well, I don't want to ruin it, but I'm pretty sure the plot tells it all when you first read it. But I just understood what was happening, and I was like, oh man. And they even have an actor from Twilight. Oh no. No, they don't. I'm thinking of a completely different show. Never mind. The actor from Twilight was actually in a show called Z Nation. Whoa, did I just fall in a glitch? Z Nation, which is kind of like Walking Dead, but a more funnier kind of B-film cheesy makeup with high-def graphics instead of the B-film, you know, camera style. It's like, it's goodly put together, but at the same time, it's really random on some things. Like zombies instantly turning just for no reason, not waiting or anything, and they contradict themselves on things and stuff, and it's a pretty good show though. I like Z Nation. I'm almost through the whole entire thing right now, waiting for season 4 to come out. But yeah, I hope you have a blessed evening, man. I think I'm gonna go. Alright? I'll talk to you later. Good night and God bless. No problem. Alright.